In this video, I take a detailed look at the Otis Gen 2. The Otis Gen 2 is a really nice MRL, and the logic controller is actually quite complex. Although the Otis Gen 2 is a very nice lift, there is 3 things I don't like about it. 1. Reliability. The Gen 2 is designed to last 25 years, which compared with the crap generic which is only designed to last 10 years, is really good. But easily compared to what Otis was like in the 60s, where lifts were designed to last 50 to 100 years, a lift from Otis that only lasted 25 years isn't really that good, really. And also, they're not that reliable. When I was at college, there was Gen 2s there, and they were always breaking down. And quite often, the lift engineer would find there was no problems with it. This is because the Gen 2, as soon as it detects a slightest fault, immediately shuts down the entire lift and doesn't move until a lift engineer resets it. And Otis will tell you how amazingly safe this is. But I personally dislike it because it means the lift spends a lot of time out of service. The second thing I dislike about the Otis Gen 2 is that it doesn't open its doors until it's come to a complete stop. I really dislike lifts that time waste. Although the Gen 2 doesn't time waste anywhere near as much as a crap generic, it's still not that great with the time wasting thing like compared to an eco-disc or something. Third thing, although the Otis Gen 2 is a really nice lift, it doesn't quite have that level of complete awesomeness which an eco-disc has. When you go into an eco-disc, it's like, yeah, this is totally awesome. Every little tiny detail with an eco-disc is designed perfectly, and with the Gen 2, when you go into a Gen 2, it's like, yeah, this is a really nice lift. There's not quite the same as an eco-disc. Okay, now let's take a really detailed look at this Gen 2. And now, going on top of the Gen 2. With an Otis Gen 2, you don't simply open up the door and go on top of it, put it into manual mode and run the lift from on top. If you do that, the lift will not move. The Gen 2's logic control is a bit overly complex, and it monitors each shaft door individually, unlike most lifts which just has one circuit going through all of the shaft doors, and it pretty much can't tell which shaft door is open. It just knows that somewhere along the line the circuit's broken. With a Gen 2, it actually knows each individual door, and it authorises which doors can be opened depending on where the lift is. And if you just open up a shaft door to like go on top of the lift, you'll detect that as being an unauthorised shaft door opening, and when it detects that, it just shuts down. It won't move. You can't just open up the door, go on it. This won't work. If you do what I just did when I first got to his lift, which was to just open up the door and try going on top, it was only fine. You've got a not working lift. So what do you do then? What you have to do is then open up the logic controller cabinet on the top floor and put the lift into engineer mode with this switch here. Then you switch it back to normal operation and it works again. And now let's take a more look at this logic controller cabinet, and there's quite a few interesting things about it. One thing is Otis Gen 2s have a backup battery, and we'll come more to that later on. So then, let's now try rebooting the Gen 2. So let's turn off the power, and just turn off the power, notice a bit of metal comes down over the switch. This is to make it easier for lift engineers to switch off, lock off, because Otis have made a big thing about making a Gen 2 as safe as possible. And throughout this video, you'll notice that they've gone really thoroughly into this, and there's stickers everywhere, especially on top of the lift, reminding you to do everything as safely as possible. And after looking at quite a few lifts, I would say the Otis Gen 2 is the most safety conscious lift I've actually come across. So okay, now let's turn back on the power and watch the lift reboot. One thing to notice is even though I've turned off the power, the floor displays haven't all gone dark. The floor displays don't go dark until 30 seconds after you've turned the power off, because when you turn off the main power, the lift doesn't like instantly shut down. It uses a backup battery to check everything, then it shuts down, just to make sure it does everything safely, which is quite interesting. So then let's turn on the power and notice what happens on the floor indicator. Quite interesting. Then the lift then does some sort of test routine where it opens and closes the doors really slowly and plays loads of messages through the speaker. And now, let's get on top of this lift, and this time, let's do it correctly. For the lift to authorise a door opening and then actually let you move the lift from on top, you have to do things in the correct order. First thing is you have to put the lift into engineer mode, and when you put it into engineer mode, the doors immediately close. One important thing is do not get in the lift after putting it on engineer mode, because you will become trapped. You then manually drive it to the position you want it, and you do this by using these Schneider Electric telemechanic buttons. So you press the down button and the lifter is now in manual control and it's moving downwards. And then once you get the lifter up position, you can then go on top of it. And there was a bit of a problem with this particular lift, because on top of the Gen 2, there is no light. Because the Otis has gone the lines off, you don't really need a light on top of the lift because you've got the shaft lights. And if you look to the side here, you can see where you turn on the shaft lights. So there's a bit of design for this, because to open up the fuse box to turn on the lights, you sort of push the fuse box lid against one of the cables in the shaft, which isn't really good design. Whoever put that fuse box there is a bit of an idiot. And also, there's a bit of a problem. The shaft light switch was a bit dodgy. It took me a few guys to get the switch on because it kept tripping out every time I tried to turn on this fuse switch. And also, several times when I was trying to turn on the fuse switch, I could actually feel the switch vibrating quite violently. There's definitely something wrong with this particular fuse box. Anyway, once I did get the lights on, we can now take a detailed look at the lift shaft. Although this was a bit nerve-wracking because I was a bit worried the lights might suddenly go out at any moment, which is a bit worrying. So then, since I went through the procedure properly when I went to top, let's make this lift move. See how much better the quality is here than any crap generic. Firstly, if you look to the side, you can see these black belts, which is the Otis belt cabling system, which they're very proud of, which is where basically the cables are in a belt, which Otis go on about how wonderfully reliable it is. Although it is quite a regular occurrence that you find a Gen 2 which has a cable rub problem, so there is a fault with the cables on Gen 2. So then, quite a lot of equipment on here. The positioning system's a lot more advanced than the crap generic. Best of all, no horrible ticky tape. Good. Okay, let's now move upwards and take a closer look at the Gen 2 motor. So let's take a look around, and there's a lot of sensors actually at the top of the cables themselves to detect the forces going on in the cables, which is really advanced. It really is a lot of technology here. So here we have the Gen 2 motor, which is a really small motor for the amount of lift it moves. Gen 2 is a really interesting design of lifting. And like with most MRLs, on top of a lift is the instruction manuals. Let's take a look at them. On an Otis Gen 2, there's one thing you can't do, which is to surf it at full speed. If this switch you back to automatic, it literally will not move until you get off the lift, put it out of engineer mode and all that. Although you could get a ride at full speed if you had another person with you. But generally speaking, the Gen 2 is very safe, and if it knows that you're on top of it, it will refuse to go full speed. And now, let's go back to the logic cabinet. Firstly, we have this screen here, which is the menu screen. I've tried pressing all the buttons on this to see if I can get it to do something, but I couldn't get any menus to come up, so I'm not quite sure how you use this. You can see there's a lot of different ports here, so it all do a lot of quite complicated stuff. When you have more than one lift in the set, you can link up lifts and get all the lifts talking to each other, so you can work out how to run in the groups and get right lift to go to the right floor. When you look at the instruction manuals for a Gen 2, the Gen 2 has more modes than any other type of lift. When you've got more than one lift in a set, there's so many different ways of running them, it's quite amazing. So then, now if you take another look at the screen on the control panel, we can also see there's a speed indicator. So let's turn the lift down, take a look at its display where we can see its speed. And now, another Another really interesting feature about a Gen 2 is the manual rescue operation. Now this is how you free people from the lift when either the power goes off or there's a fault with the lift. In a regular lift, if like the power goes off or there's a fault with it, if it's hydraulic, you just release the hydraulic to make the lift go down to it's in line with the floor so you can free the trapped passengers. Or if it's traction lift, you go into motor room, then you just manually wind the motor till the lift gets to the floor. Since this is an MRL, you can't do either of these two things. So if the lift stops between floors, how do you rescue the passengers? With the Gen 2, they've actually got quite a clever system for doing so. They've got a separate circuit board of separate logic on to the main logic controller, which you can activate and use that to move the lift to the right place to free the passengers. For example, if the lift has stopped between floors, it could just be as a power cut, or there could be something majorly wrong somewhere in the lift, and if that happens, we do not know whereabouts in the lift the major fault is. So the manual rescue operation has to completely override all of the standard logic features of the lift and manually make the lift move. To do a manual rescue operation, first thing you must do is it only runs off of the battery. You mustn't have the main three-phase supply coming in. So first thing is to turn off the three-phase supply. And also another interesting thing to note with the Gen 2 is as soon as you turn off the main three-phase supply, it actually says doors closing and closes the doors, because that's basically like a backup battery making sure the whole lift safely shuts down properly when the power goes off rather than simply everything turning off instantly. Next thing to do is to put a lift into engineer mode. Then we take these keys here and we use these keys to turn this key switch, which is covered up. This key switch will completely override the normal logic controller, because say if we have got some trapped passengers in the lift, then we don't know what's wrong with it. It could be anything that's wrong. It could be a logic controller's failed, it could be a variable frequency drive that's failed. You just don't know what it could be, so we're overriding all of the usual features in here to make emergency rescue operation, which should just have a minimal amount of electronics involved to guarantee that even though something's gone wrong, the lift will still be able to move to get the people free. So then you put the key in the BRB2 key, then on the logic controller above the screen there's a button which says BRB1. This button's fairly well hidden, it's sort of hidden behind this light thingy, but if you press both of those at the same time, you activate manual rescue operation, and you have to hold the key turned and hold the button and you'll make the lift move to the nearest floor. What happens is the lift literally just releases the brake, and the counterweight is the midway of the maximum load of the lift. So if there's only a couple of passengers in the lift will start moving upwards. If the lift's full of passengers, a lift will start moving downwards. Because the brake is simply just released, the lift will just start speeding up gradually, which is of course dangerous. But the standard governor speed control on the lift will then be used in the manual rescue operation, and as soon as the lift speeds up too much, it just immediately applies the brake, the lift stops. So it really is a really simplistic and rather crap way of moving a lift, but the whole job of it's not to make the lift move nicely. The point of it is literally just to free the people in the lift. So when you put on manual rescue operation, the brake releases, the lift starts sinking down, it's getting faster until it exceeds 0.3 meters a second, then suddenly brake applies, lift stops. Then as soon as the brake applies, it immediately releases again, then the thing starts again. When the lift has got to the floor, and you can see that I'm doing a manual rescue operation right here at the moment, and the lift's on the top floor, it'll then light up in the display to open the doors. In manual rescue operation mode, you have to open the doors manually, and that is how you perform a manual rescue operation. But as one major thing is, even though this is a manual rescue operation, it's still using some electronics. When if you compare it to like a hydraulic lift or a normal traction lift, where you can literally manually make your lift move yourself, although this is a lot more manual because all of the normal electronics have been bypassed, is using a separate circuit board specially designed just to free passengers. It's still relying on some electronics, which means that not just the Gen 2 but all MRL lifts are not completely foolproofly, you can't completely foolproofly manually make a move like you can with a conventional lift. And that is the end of the video.